There's our slate.
Are we ready to rock? What are we doing?
You're on, Brandon.
Are we on? Was that the official start?
Sure.
All right, cool. Official start. Well, thank you for listening in to the Bar Podcast. Connor, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Clark is here today as a special guest as well.
Howdy, howdy.
Clark, how are you today?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Right? This fly that's flying around here is
the fly's a little nutty, but
just don't punch me, okay? Just don't punch me. But anyways, but thank you all for joining today. We appreciate it. Otherwise, known as the Bar, anyways, here, where we talk a little bit about mental health and mental health, I think, kind of topics, anyhow. So we appreciate Connor being on and talking to us.
Thanks for coming back, by the way.
Yeah, right. Too. Well, I wasn't going to say that, but now that you just let the cat out of the bag that we effed up the first one, I mean,
it's all right.
Yeah, look, this is your second round of this thing, right? Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes compared to the first one.
Yeah.
Like, see if it'll be same, different. I'm interested.
That's why I'm glad Clark's here, because Clark can let all this kind of stuff I get a little bit heebie-jeebies, like, I can't, mention the first one that we did record, but we kind of didn't record it.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, right. That's honesty, right? It's full vulnerability, but yeah, it's good. Well, anyways, thank you all for joining. Go at us and like us on all the social media platforms. I just say that because if I fumble my way through Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all those other social media sites, I probably will fumble the F out of it, but you can go out and find us. It's pretty easy, Building a Refuge, so not too difficult. But definitely go out to the Building a Refuge YouTube channel. We have a number of different podcasts out there now, a great variety. Up until this point, so we are super excited though to have Connor back.
This is number 15, by the way. 15.
So,
yes.
And as we do, I'm not going to get distracted. As we do with all of our podcasts, if you are struggling, we have a couple of resources we want to share with you. One, you can text the word refuge to 494949. It's an anonymous text line. It's actually really cool. They do respond immediately, so it's a very, I think, private, anonymous way that if somebody is going through anything, it's a really cool source anyways that you can use. I think that's pretty private. You can also reach out to the National Suicide Helpline, which they've condensed that now, which is great. It's kind of nice to see that they've done that. So 988, a person can dial that if they need to. And then also they can text 838-255. So another text avenue. Additionally to that, really important to us, our veterans out there. Thank you to all of our veterans that provide us with an opportunity to do what we do here anyways in a free world. But you can utilize the 1-800 number there as well if you should need some help. 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. Listen to me. I sound like some kind of radio DJ.
Don't you're getting good, man.
We're going to spin some smooth jazz here in a minute. But before we do that, we're going to talk to Connor.
Yes. Hell yeah.
So Connor, like we do all the time, man, tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, maybe how many siblings you have, where you spent some younger time in your life. I mean, I know you haven't reaped the ripe age of 53 yet, like myself. But
No, I've not. So I recently had a birthday, 29 years old.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Right on.
Thank
you. Cheers to you, buddy.
Yes,
cheers to you. Yeah, cheers to Connor.
I grew up in Fishers, Indiana. Was there. I went to college at IUPUI downtown. I lived downtown for about 13 years or so. And then I recently just moved out of downtown, kind of more down Keystone a little bit. So doing that, never graduated college. That was fun. I went for education. I was about a half a semester away from graduating. And then I had a little mental health issue there that we will be talking about today.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I've been in restaurants my whole life up until about a month ago. Yep. And then, now I'm just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, no, I remember last time, we had you in and kind of talking about this. And I think that's one of the things that, we try to highlight. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but I mean, I appreciate your vulnerability to be able to come in and share it with us, because I think it's, it's really a very real topic out there today. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the big things that we try to do at Building a Refuge is just pull that stigma away that, you know what, it's all right. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned, hey, I didn't finish college. That's just fine. Like,
yeah, I ain't going nowhere.
There's nobody that's going to chase you down and be like, well, you didn't finish college, so, blah, 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 right? I mean, and sometimes I think the world just has a way of putting some of these pressures on people, especially guys. I mean, that's, again, one of the things that we focus on is men's mental health. But I mean, I think in general, I don't want to leave ladies out of this, but, I think in general, the world kind of does that. So, yeah. But yeah, man, share a little bit of that with us. I know last time you went through, and I kind of know your story a little bit, but I mean, that experience anyways.
Yeah, so I was in school. Like I said, I was getting an education degree. I really, really enjoyed school. I've always been a good student. I have one of those kind of memories where it's not photogenic necessarily, but like I can look over something once or twice and I'll have it in my head. So school was always easy. I really enjoyed it. My brother at the time lived with me. My best friend lived with me. So it was a really, really good time in life. And I always in my head and in my body, I've known, even back in 5th or 6th grade, that I was a very anxious person. It runs in the family a little bit. I've always kind of gone back and forth in some depressive episodes. Up until about 2 years ago, I actually got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which was interesting to say the least, but we'll get to all that. And so I've always been on and off medication and everything. At the time, I believe I was off medication. And I remember it was my senior year of college. Like I said, I mean, I was literally less than a semester away from graduating. Yeah. And I had a couple projects that were due, and I was having that realization in life of like, shit, I'm like 3 months away from like, there's no more like fun school time. Like you gotta figure shit out. Yeah. And I always liked doing my teaching thing. I student taught at a couple of schools downtown, Crispus Attucks, things like that.
Yeah,
and
right on.
Really, really enjoyed it. Really, really opened my eyes and let me experience some things that I would never, ever experience.
Yeah.
And I was in class one day and something just kind of snapped in me. I don't know what it was. I don't know what caused it. I remember waking up that day and feeling a little bit funky, kind of, sometimes you wake up the wrong side of the pillow, whatever you want to call it, but nothing too major, nothing too crazy. And I was in class and I just had this crippling panic attack that like I've always been someone that I'm anxious, but my anxiety always is kind of more long-term in thought. It's never like a panic attack thing. So it was super different, super weird. And I had to get the hell out of the classroom. So I immediately got up and left. And I remember my breathing was I was breathing real hard and I was sweating and I was like,
heart racing.
What is going on? And I was just this wave of years and years of shit I was avoiding or covering up just kind of all came out at once, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I immediately, man, I started crying and freaking out. And I remember when I got into my car and I was about to drive home, I remember very, very, very seriously being like, I'm going to go home and kill myself. I am going to go home. Yeah. I'm going to take a bunch of pills, and I can't do this shit anymore. And I'm
glad you didn't.
Yes,
I'll tell you that now.
As am I.
I'm very grateful you didn't.
It was, I've always in depression and stuff like that. I've always had suicidal thoughts and everything, but I never ever was like action plan. This is it. This is the day. Boom, boom. So I remember I was about halfway home. I called my mom, and I didn't tell her that part. I was just like, I'm super upset. I don't know. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even really get sense that it was more of just me hysterically crying on the phone to my mom. And I remember my mom, without even really kind of telling me, she just drove downtown to where my house was. And I got home, and luckily about 15 minutes later, my mom was there. Yeah. And
thank you, Mom.
Yes. Thank you, Mom. And she kind of knocked on the door and was like, hey, you're coming home with me. Like, no ifs, ands, no pack your shit. No, like, she was like, hey, like, we can come, like, you're coming home with me.
Yeah, we'll get back to this stuff later.
So, went back to their house, had a really, really long week, I just couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop. Every emotion I felt was to the absolute extreme level.
Yeah.
And, I remember sitting on my mom's bedroom floor with her laptop and writing the letter to my kind of dean sort of thing in the school education, being like, hey, I know we're almost about to graduate and everything, but I can't keep going. Like I got to protect my stuff. And I think part of that reasoning for me too was, as well as, I didn't know the journey I was about to go on. So I had to figure that out. And secondly, I was at the point in my teaching career. I mean, I was in a classroom every day. Like in college, I was in a classroom with students.
Sure.
I didn't feel comfortable being in that state of mind or anything around 13, 14, 15-year-old children. So dropped out about a couple days after that whole incident. I remember me and my mom really started looking around for places I could get some help, which is a struggle if you've ever been through that process. I mean, your first thought is to go to a hospital, and the hospital kind of told me and was very honest. Again, I thank that nurse so much that we talked to. She was like, listen, I could put him in right now and say he is suicidal, but it's not going to make him better. They're going to lock him up. They're going to it's not going to help him at all.
No.
And she was like, you really don't want to do that. And she pointed us to the stress center.
Yep.
And so I was a daily outpatient there for about 2 months or so. I did every single day. I did about 8 hours worth of classes. And it was a fantastic experience. I mean, it was something that, what was great about it was I was with people my age.
Yeah.
Everyone was at different points of where they were at with their mental health journey. You had some people who were just discovering it. Some people like me who had really been going through it. Some people who've been fighting back and forth with it.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It led to some really, really good time, really, really good conversation with my parents, because part of that process was, hey, bring your parents in with you, and we're going to sit down privately with your parents and just talk about stuff. And it was great. It allowed my mom and dad to ask questions that they were probably uncomfortable just asking me.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to open up to them about things, because it's, at that time in my life and everything I was going through, I don't want to say selfishly, but I was very much just focused on myself, because I was like, this is not okay. Like, I got to figure something out here. So that was great. Made it through that program. I still have my little coin and everything. Every now and then I look at that when I'm having a bad day. I 100% pull that coin out every now and then and look at it and just remember like where I was at, what I've been through, what I've gotten and everything. And I remember I told the story last time I was on here. Probably the best thing about all of that was about 2 or 3 weeks after I, finished my classes and everything like that and all that outpatient therapy, me and my dad got into a car accident. My dad broke his neck.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
And it was kind of perfect timing, because my mom was still working at the time. My dad was retired and I was just at home, no school, no job, nothing.
Yeah.
So I essentially was my dad's caretaker for a while there.
Gave you a purpose.
A couple weeks. Well, not only gave me a purpose, but it also allowed me and my dad to come closer, because on a whole different level. Because like my dad, he had a broken neck, but I mean, it wasn't like I was like wiping his ass, or like it wasn't anything like too in depth, anything like that. But we'd wake up, make some breakfast, do whatever, and then my dad, if you guys ever met him or saw him, by about 1 or 2 p.m., he'd just be like, hey, let's just go to the bar. He'd be like, all right. So we'd go to a bar, and I remember I would get 3 bendy straws, and I'd make him 1 big straw and put it in his cup. So all he had to do to drink was lean forward. And
that's kick ass.
It allowed me and my dad to connect on a level that I never thought would have happened before. And I was also at that age, I was probably about 20, 21, where you're really starting to see your parents more as like human beings, as people, besides like, that's mom and dad. Like, and that was a huge step, because me and my dad were talking about, his ex relationships that he had with women. And it's like, as a kid, you don't think about like
your dad doing that,
because it's like, oh, that's dad and mom. And so like, we just had great conversations, and I think he knew that I was at a point that I was very, vulnerable and very needing guidance and just needing someone to talk to. And he was at a point where he kind of needed the same thing. And it was great. And like me and my dad are still, I mean, we were always good friends. We always had a good relationship, but that kind of took it to another level and another deep respect of one another. That was great. And it also, again, from that whole situation, I was living with my parents, turned 21. I immediately started bartending because I was like, my parents, they like having fun and stuff like that. They were always hosting parties and everything. So I wanted to go bartend, started bartending. I inevitably went back downtown and bartended. And I mean, it led me to a career, buying 2 houses, buying a car. I met my now fiance in the restaurant industry.
There's some good stuff there.
Like me and my best friend, like reconnected. Like it just, it helped out everything in my life so much. And going through that was one of the hardest things I had to do. But it led to so much greatness that it still has that sort of effect on me now. Like even when we were talking before we started recording about how, I mean, I very recently quit my job. And I don't have a plan. I don't have
which is okay. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely okay.
It is, but classic, like 29, I'm getting married in November. Yeah, just fuck it, quit your job, dude. Like no plan, no backup, no like work and save some money for a while. Like nope, quit my job. And so I'm kind of doing that, and I'm working around and kind of figuring out my next move. But what's great about it is 5-6 years ago, I'd be freaking out right now.
I got to ask you this. So I want to kind of, you have like, there's so much there, Connor, and I love it. I mean, I think that your story is like definitely it'll connect with people that are going through, I think, just life changes in general. Maybe somebody that's gone through the same experience relative to college and like, oh my God, what do I do? My shit, blah, blah, blah. So when you went through that experience, right, when you knew kind of something wasn't right, and I think you said you went to the stress center, right? Pretty sure that's what you said. That community? Okay. So community is a great resource for us as well. They've always been a part, as we've kind of developed building a refuge, just as somebody. And I only bring this up because I got to ask, I mean, and be 100% honest and vulnerable here about what I'm asking. If you would have known about building a refuge, like somebody would have come to you and said, hey man, there's this group that's like intimidating. They meet at a motorcycle shop. It's just kind of a community of dudes that get together. If you want to share a story, you're more than welcome to. If you don't want to, and you just want to get to meet some dudes or whatever, would that have been appealing to you?
So I think at the age that I was at, it would have been something that I would have needed a little bit of convincing to do.
Okay. But then that's great though. That's why I ask these questions, because I think that's what's real. You know what I mean?
Once I did it, it would have helped me out tremendously, because at that point in my life and at that age I was at, that 20-year-old, almost out of college age, you have this weird feeling of like you're scared shitless, but you also have that like I'm invincible feeling still in life. And it's a very weird mix. And then also to tie into that question for me, my anxiety, funny enough, even though I worked in the bar business forever, is public settings.
Okay.
I do not do well in crowds. I do not do well.
That's wild. And you worked, I mean, and I know the place where you worked, and it's a busy place.
It was very busy.
And packed on Friday night. So you can barely move in there.
It's pretty fun. I'm not going to lie.
It is awesome.
We can give a little plug for them, right?
I mean, shout out 3 Up.
3 Up out of Carmel, Indiana.
All my people.
That's right.
I still love you guys. I'm sorry.
I love that place. I love that place.
We do too. We live in Carmel, so we go there a lot.
But no, it was awesome. It was it would have, being in that community and being able to talk and meet people who have experiences, and like even knowing a little bit about like your experience and your experience and stuff. It would have helped me understand that like there is a future. That there is a go through what you're going through now. Survive it.
What I hear you say is, so let me.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. So I mean, and I love the fact that you say, well, it probably would have taken some convincing, right? And I think that's real. Erik talks a lot about this, as it relates to Erik Robinson, our co-founder.
Get well soon, bro.
That's right, buddy. Get well soon. He went through an experience where he was an attempt, right? So he was in that kind of mindset you talked about, like, hey man, I just want to go home and take a bunch of pills and just be done with this shit, right? And Erik's perspective is an interesting one because Erik has always said, even this group that we are working to build, right, building a refuge, he said it would have taken a hell of a lot of convincing to drag me out of the basement and get me to go to it. And I think us just being honest about that is needed, because I hope somebody hears this out there when they listen to this podcast, or maybe somebody that listens in knows somebody or what have you, right? And if they live in the Indianapolis area, we meet at Fisher's on a monthly basis. We got one coming up here really soon. And it's not a intimidating, threatening environment, man. It's super chill. I bring that up because I think it's really cool that you said that the group that you met with, that community, the group that you got to be a part of, they were your age, they were going through different levels of mental health challenges, things like that. At the end of the day, that's what we try to create. Now, if somebody comes to us and says, hey, we need a resource, it's another reason why I asked this, because I think you just give a great plug for something that was very helpful for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they were nice. They were kind. I think what else was really nice about them was, before I signed up for anything or got involved with anything with them, they really did a very, very good assessment of where I was at. Do you need to be inpatient? Do you need to be outpatient? Do you need this many courses? Do you need this? What's going to be best for you?
Yeah.
Besides just saying okay, you want help, hey, sign up for this. We'll see you Monday. Here's your room, whatever. They gave options, and they really, really let me feel comfortable with it, which I think was great and awesome. And I also think that what else was funny is thinking back about that time now was, I remember my first day of class, where, because it was a small, I don't in class, it wasn't we weren't.
Yeah, no, I got you. But your group setting.
It wasn't too big. There was a group about 12 or 15 of us, and we were all in that same age range of about 17 to 23.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, there was one or two people in there in my group who, were going through it. Going through it.
Some heavy shit.
Then I also remember there was one or two people that it was my very first day, and it sounds awful saying now, but it was come on. You know what I mean?
What are you doing here?
It was you're 18, you're in high school, you'll get it together. And I remember by the end of the class and by the group setting, all of that was gone. All of those judgments, those pre-things, anything was all gone, because we shared so much time together, and we all opened up about everything so much. And what we really focused and learned on that class was, hey, you know what? Just because this person's going through something that doesn't seem like that big of a deal to you, it's fucking really big for them.
Yeah.
And
it's one of the things we always talk about on this show, and even at our meetings, we'll tell people, man, there's no pain scale. Because you went through something, and like you said, I think that's a great point where you're hey man, everything's going to work. But everybody has a different story.
Yeah.
And everybody has a different life, and everything's going to impact everybody differently.
And it's funny, even now, the point I was at in my life where I really had my break and my, essentially almost attempt, was, if I were to go back and look at that person now and where I'm at now, with everything I know, everything I learned, I would have been dude, shut the fuck up. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But at the time,
I
needed to go through that. I needed to experience that. I needed to, because if I was self-medicating, I was completely avoiding, I was really into drugs at the time. I wasn't doing anything to help myself.
Right.
And going through all that and the stress and learning it, what it really, really taught me was, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, there's no cure for it. There's no, hey, take this pill and you're going to wake up the next day and be a perfectly fine human being.
That's right.
It is being able to recognize what gets you going, and being able to know how to kind of put an end to that.
Yeah.
How to be able to help yourself in that sense.
Defuse, whatever.
Yeah. And for me, a lot of mine, my fiance always fucking makes fun of me, but a lot of mine is organization, cleanliness,
Yeah.
cleaning. I'm not like OCD by any means, but it's like if I'm having a really bad anxious day and I'm like really anxious about, let's say I'm going on a trip the next day and flying bugs me out.
Okay.
The day before, I will spend hours cleaning, deep cleaning, making sure my laundry's doing.
Yeah.
And it's for me.
Yeah.
It's to feel accomplishment. It's to feel like I'm knocking stuff
Like you're
off a
prepped and ready.
checklist.
Yeah.
I'm prepped and ready and I'm good to go. That's what always kind of helps me get to where I need to be, and levels me out. Because my worst anxiety, my worst depression is when I have one of those weeks where you order out food 4 or 5 times a week, you're watching movies, you're sitting there playing video games, doing whatever, and you're not being productive.
Idle hands.
After about 4 or 5 days of that, I get to a point where it's bad. I have a hard time even waking up, getting out of bed.
Having a mission, right?
Yeah.
A mission, man.
Interesting.
And like
no matter what that mission is.
One of the greatest exercises I actually did in that group, and it sounded so damn dumb at the time, was she was like, I want you to every day write down 10 things you did that day.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I don't care if it's tie your shoes. I don't give a shit what it is.
Yeah.
Write it down. And we'd come in the next day and we'd always have to have the 10 things we did, and then we'd also have to write 5 things we like about ourselves.
Okay.
And what was cool about it was there were some days, it sounds so easy, but at the time I was so anxious, I was so depressed. Writing those 10 things was painful for me.
Yeah.
Whereas now looking back at it, and like there are still times where I do that still to this day. Hey, you know, you have a long day at work, you come home, you're just feeling down about yourself. Kind of write down everything you did today. And you look and it's like, holy shit, like today may not have been the best, but I did something today. I made an impact.
Accomplished
I
a lot.
helped something. I accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
And that always helps me a lot. It always goes from there. And like being able to take those practices and use those into any aspect of life is great. And it also just helps me relate to people a lot more. Like I have, again, it's why I wanted to do this podcast when I first heard about it and everything, was I have friends that still to this day who are your kind of more typical, like, oh, I'm a guy. Like,
yeah.
And,
that's right. I mean, it's real.
And,
I mean, it's what it is. Yeah.
And they'll text me every now and then, hey, man, I'm just, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm getting really emotional. I'm getting upset. I have this business trip coming up and like I can't sleep at night. I'm really anxious about it, blah, blah, blah. And they come to me with that advice and they come to me for looking for some sort of something to tell them and everything like that, which I always do. I always help them out. But it's like the first thing I do is understand why you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get mad at yourself for feeling anxious or depressed, you're fucked. You're not getting back from there. Like realize what's going on. Okay, it's the business trip. You're anxious because of a business trip. Dude, you've done like 20 business trips this year. You're going to be fine. I know, but this one's
I got a 3 a.m. flight coming up here in a couple days, and I'm like, fuck.
And it's been great being able to be that person and everything. And like, by no means am I perfect, or by no means do I have, I mean, shit, I have, with my anxiety, I'm golfing with my friend tomorrow. And I'm anxious as shit about it. I've never played there before. It's going to be hot.
But you're golfing.
Like,
I mean, there's a lot to be anxious about playing golf. You lose all those balls.
But it's one of those things where it's like, it sounds silly, but it's like I said, for me, it's public settings.
Yeah.
The most comfortable I am is at home.
Okay.
When I leave home, it's a different ballgame out there. And like, I'm super anxious about it, but I know tomorrow by like,
is the anxiousness? Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just once you get out there and tee off,
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll be, and that's how I always am. Like vacations, traveling is very hard for me. I like traveling, but it's very hard for me. But usually about like the second day we're there and I'm sitting on the beach or whatever, I can like lean over to my family or my fiance and be like, all right, like we're good now. And like, it just takes me some while. And like, again, that process took me a while to understand about myself. Because I used to always, even when I was a little kid, I'd go on vacation and always the first day I'd get sick.
Yeah.
I'd throw up. I'd whatever.
It's the anticipation of everything,
it's
probably.
The excitement, the anticipation, oh shit, I'm really far away from home.
Yeah.
Like, what if I need this? What if I need, like, a lot of my anxiety comes from control.
Yeah.
It really, really comes from like
Yeah.
when I'm in an uncomfortable situation where I don't have control, I don't have my car parked out front so I can get out of there whenever I can.
Yeah.
Like it goes downhill for me pretty fast.
I think Clark and the team here at LDR Studios might have witnessed a little bit of that in me last
Oh
weekend.
yeah. He was stressed about.
But I can relate to that, man, because like I'm a very like I like to have shit in control, right? And what happens to me when I don't have things kind of at least set in somewhat of a pathway, and then I got a lot of people that are going to be impacted. Like if shit goes awry, dude, it fucks me up.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I mean,
it
was good to see you shake the
yeah.
that anxiety or
Well, but here's the thing. Like, I'll be honest with you. I mean, going through everything that I've went through in the past 7 years with losing my brother and recognizing more and more of the triggers around mental health has absolutely helped me. 100%. I would be sitting here lying to you if I said I'm the same guy as I was, previous to this whole experience. And so that's why these stories are very, very, I think, impactful and valuable. I mean, that's why we call it one story at a time. Your story is very personal to you, Connor. And I think the beautiful part about this, I don't know whether you can see this or not, but you're helping people. To your point a little bit earlier with your buddy that's calling you when he's going through a rough day, dude, you're providing more stability and more help for him than you probably know that you are.
Exactly, and that's like, that's all part of it to me. And I think that it's funny because I never used to think like that. I
Yeah.
never used to think about the impact that I was having. I would think about it negatively.
Yeah.
Oh, the impact my anxiety would have on me in a negative standpoint of like, oh man, like I'm too anxious to go to this Colts game with my buddies, and I have to miss out on this.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
I'd get all mad and upset about myself. Where now I kind of see that stuff as a positive.
Yeah.
Because of my anxiety, because of my stuff and my depression, I know myself better than I'd say anyone else does.
Here's the wild part about this, right? I always think like I don't like labels, right? So, and I know we got to call it what it is, right? I mean, it is anxiety, it is depression, right? It is whatever. But like it's normal.
It is.
I guarantee
Yes.
it there is. I mean, I would be lying to you if I didn't. Like when you're talking about some of these experiences, I can in my own head, I'm 53, right? And I'm going, yeah, it sounds pretty familiar.
And so what's funny,
not the same, but familiar.
And so what's funny about that is, so I mentioned earlier that I recently got diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
It's probably like 2 years ago or so. And I remember about 2 or 3 years ago, I made the decision. I was like, I need to get back on medication. Like I need to start taking this shit more seriously. And I went to the doctors, and she was looking through everything I've been on in the past, and you name a medicine, I've been on it.
Okay.
And
that was one of my questions was the path of finding the right medication that works.
So I remember, I go to the same doctor that my dad goes to, and I remember the doctor being like, well, your dad shares your same genes. Odds are this medicine's going to work the same for you. It didn't. And so I hated that. So I got off it. And then it's just trial and error. And I always tell, friends, before I left work, one of my coworkers, she approached me and talked about how she just started getting on medication. And I sat down with her and I talked to her. I was like, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
There's going to be side effects. There's going to be it. Don't be afraid of that. And also in your mind, don't think that this is the only medicine.
Right.
Take it for 2 or 3 months, see how you feel, see how your body's going. And if you don't like it, just try something new. Like that, we get stuck in this mindset. But so I remember I was at the doctor and she was reading through all my stuff and she's like, all right, give me a second. She left, she came back with a piece of paper and it was like 20 questions, yes or no. And she was like, just fill this out as honestly as you can. I was like, all right. So I'm circling it. And I gave it back to her. And she was like, all right, that's what I thought. And I was like, what? She's like, you're bipolar. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. And my immediate thought was bipolar disorder is what you see in these movies and TVs of like, hey, how are you doing? Oh, fuck you. Like this back and forth, like instant. She explained to me that it's not. It's a cycle of how your brain works, and it tears your emotions and takes you up and down. And she related a little bit to like someone with like ADHD, where it's like they're doing a task and then something else comes up and they stop this task and go to this task. She's
Okay.
like, your brain's kind of almost doing that, of like, it's trying to be happy so much that it's making yourself sad. So if you're having a happy day, you may actually like, I was like, all right. And it was cool. And again, it goes back to kind of like what you said of like, there are always these labels of stuff.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, how my anxiety works is probably different from yours, probably different from
100%.
yours.
Yeah.
So to just label
But it doesn't
under
make like
that,
it's not doesn't mean anybody's
Yeah.
got anything wrong with
Yeah.
it, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it should, like, in the world today, people should be smarter in 2023, right? We should be intelligent enough to know that that's okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's
like-
okay not to be okay.
So,
Amen.
so
Right? Like,
my favorite, and God bless them, I love all my friends and family because they know this very well. When I get really, really anxious, I dry heave.
yeah.
And I gag. And sometimes it's not always just a dry heave or a gag. I full on vomit.
Yeah, I got you.
It's embarrassing
Yeah.
as all hell.
Yeah, I got you.
My friends and family, they act like nothing even happened. We've
That's
been,
cool. Yeah.
I mean, I've literally been
Yeah,
walking
that's good,
down.
though. Yeah.
I've literally been walking down like Meridian Street, headed
Yeah.
to like a Pacers game,
yeah.
and like with a group of friends, and I just like, and
Yeah.
like my
I have
friends.
a buddy of mine that's that, like, he does that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, fine.
Yeah, and my friends, they've known me forever. They know I'm fine. And like, if there's new people in those, it's just Connor. He's all right. He just he
That's
needs
awesome.
he needs to get it out of him and
Yeah,
stuff
he's
like that.
good.
And it's like exactly. And it's like sometimes it's I don't want to say you got to have fun with it, but it's like sometimes you just have to understand. It's
Yeah.
like this is just life.
Well, that kind of happened to Dustin a little bit, but that had to do with gumbo, didn't it?
But yeah, like it. I don't know. It
Chronic dehydration.
yeah.
That's
it's
right.
it's all just life. Like you're gonna have ups, you're gonna have downs, and
Yeah.
everything like that. And I think that, and it's funny, and because I was trying so hard not to use the word, so it would have felt like I was cheating. Because I got to give you credit for it.
Yeah.
I have since podcast 1 that I did here with you guys, I've been calling it mental wellness.
Yeah, right on.
Because I think that's
I love
such.
that.
I think it's such a great term because illness sounds
Says a problem.
sounds awful, sounds like a problem.
Yeah.
And B, wellness, like when you think about your physical wellness, there's what you're eating, what exercise you're doing for your brain and for all this stuff. And I think a mental wellness is that same thing. Like to me, when I have my cleaning stuff or when I have my dry heaving or whatever it is,
Yeah.
to me, all of that categorized into mental wellness because
Amen.
it's like that's how my body, that's how my brain is reacting. It's what's helping me function in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes it's silly and goofy, and I have to.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
listen, I mean, I after again, I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't have thought about this, you know, if I haven't gone through this experience, but that's my life and that's what it is. And so this is where I'm at. And I think when I came to the realization, and Tommy Perry, who's another one of our co-founders here for Building a Refuge, Tommy is clinically trained. He's a therapist, but I always tell people, like, he's not the white coat guy. Like, he is 100% on board that everybody in this human world today has got nothing effing wrong with them. Like, you know, like, listen, everybody's got the same, everybody's got the same thing, right? But I think the world has a tendency of putting, vocabulary out there that says, like we just said, mental illness, right? Like, my brother in his case was not mentally ill. I
Yeah.
can tell you that 100%. His mental wellness got to a point where he was mentally ill.
Yeah.
If that makes sense,
And,
right?
And it is. And I think, again, for me, like I know in my experience, because like this is something that's been with me since I've been very, very young.
Yeah.
When
But
you're-
applaud you for recognizing it,
and-
Connor. Shit, man.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many people out there that don't.
Yeah. And like for me, again, a lot of it was just like comfort. Like I remember like 6th grade, everyone's going to Washington, D.C. for their D.C.
Yeah.
trip. I was like, no, that sounds like
Awful.
my living hell. I am not going to that. And even
Fuck the cherry blossoms.
yeah, like even all my friends and my mom and dad are like, you sure you don't want to go? And I remember because
Yeah.
my mom, I could always open, I'm a mama's boy, so I could
Yeah,
always open
that's
her.
cool. It's all good.
And it's like, Mom, I'm not afraid of sleeping in a hotel room. I'm not afraid of the airplane.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. It sound like I'm getting
Yeah,
worked up
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about it. She'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, you don't have to go. You're totally fine. And it's like, looking back, yeah, I'm sure it was a blast. I'm sure it was great. I would have had fun.
Yeah.
But I knew for myself to like protect myself, that's not my cards.
Right.
And like even still to this day, there are certain opportunities that come up And it's like, I'm straight up honest with my friends. I'm like, that sounds great. Thank you so much for thinking about me.
right.
But I would not be any fun to be with you
Yeah.
if I joined you, because I would just be freaking out the whole time. And
Yeah.
and you know that. And I think that it goes to, like you said, like when you're younger like that and you hear mental illness, you think negative, you think badly. Like I remember being really young, like freshman, sophomore in high school, and knew when I was anxious and had, was getting sad and depressed and had all this shit going on, where it's like you have those thoughts in your mind as a young kid where it's like, am I going to be like a normal human being? Am I going to be able to have a wife? Am I going to be able to have a kid? Am I going to be able to get a job and all this shit? And it's because, in my opinion, that word mental illness is stuck with it. And you see the mentally ill character in the TV show or the movie, or
the stigma.
I mean,
exactly.
That's
and like
exactly
that,
right.
And that's what
stigma and expectation.
and,
You know what I mean?
And that's what's so great about it, where it's like it's because of that stigma that we are here essentially trying to like kind of get rid of.
Yeah.
Is what causes, in my opinion, those younger age people, besides opening out, reaching out, and trying to deal with their problems in a healthy manner, they kind of try to hide it, or they try to do whatever they can to get rid of it because they're so afraid of talking to someone about it.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
like,
I want to jump in there because, I mean, one of the other things that I would say too, for anybody that is younger that's listening to this, and I will be 100%, upfront about it. Don't follow what you see on, social media. Don't follow what you see on, even mainstream media today. Just be authentically yourself. You know what I mean? So when you think about, I got to graduate high school at, 18, and then I have to go to college, and then I have to get a job, and then I have to get married, and then I have to have kids to be normal, right? Like, fuck that. I'm sorry, but like that to me, it's just, I think that is one of the biggest problems that is a key contributor to anxiety in younger people today, because I can tell you, we had a guest here, Mike Rekoff, one of my very, very great friends, lost his daughter to suicide. And he'll tell you.
I was very good friends with her.
Yeah, he'll tell you that the pressures that just around expectation had a lot to do, you know what I mean, with the bigger picture of things. And so we've learned, right? And unfortunately, it's horrible that we have to learn in this manner, but we are learning in this avenue that, a guy not too long ago, I was listening to a podcast not too long ago, and one of the dudes on there said, man, one of the cool things about what podcasts are doing right now is it's concreting this shit in digital form for history. So in 100 years from now, if somebody's researching mental health, they'll be able to go back and find Building a Refuge, and they'll be able to find Connor Corey, and they're going to be able to listen to your story, which I think is fucking amazing.
Which will resonate with a lot more people than you think.
Oh, shit.
It's
totally
incredible.
It is, and it's funny when you were talking about that pressure and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I grew up, your son went to my same high school.
Right.
Where I grew up in Fishers, which is why I say when I moved downtown and I started teaching at IPS schools, my eyes opened up so much, because the school I went to was not
a bubble.
Oh, it wasn't. If you're going to college, it's where you're going.
That's
to college.
Exactly right.
It was
and it wasn't. It's like at fucking 8th grade.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking about for college?
Yeah, it's
and
like,
I'm like, what?
I don't know, dude. Shit. Like,
it's weird how everybody's expectation of you is it. Why are they bothered with what your life's path is?
Well, you know what it is. It's so when you show up at your neighbor's house and somebody goes, "Oh, well, where is your son going to college?
Yeah.
Oh, well, where's your daughter going to college?"
Exactly, and like I think that
fucking cares.
And I think,
you know what I mean?
And it is funny because I was in education. I think education is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
But I do think that college, like, unless you're gonna fucking go be like a doctor or a lawyer or something.
Yep.
I give all of like my younger cousins that like are in high school now or just graduated, I gave them all the same advice I wish someone had told me. Dude, take like a year or two, just work, go work at like Target.
Right.
There shouldn't be any big hurry to get through life.
Like,
man. There's so much to enjoy.
Go experience some life and go make some money. Go fuck around. Go have fun.
Yeah.
And through all of that, you will kind of find yourself and find something that you're interested in that then you'll be able to commit to these dollars and these classes and all of this throwing some 18-year-old kid who, like, I went to college because I was told you're supposed to go to college. I didn't go to college because it's like, I want to go do this for the rest of my life. It was like, well, I guess this is what I do now.
Yeah.
And it was great because, like, when I was at IPS schools, I mean, I was teaching kids that they would, after school, they would go and they'd be on the football team. And because the school was so small, they played both offense and defense. So they practiced for 2 hours. Then they would go to a job and work until midnight so they could help their mom afford the rent. And then they'd come into class, and when they wouldn't have their homework done.
Yeah, they couldn't function.
When they wouldn't have their homework done.
How could you function?
I was one of the first teachers. I was like, dude, I don't really give a shit. Just take your time and just please assure me you can't do this, because it's like, dude, when I was 17, I was like trying to worry about like sneaking a water bottle of alcohol into a concert. I wasn't worried about like helping
paying
my mom.
The bills for my mom.
It just opened my eyes so fucking much about that bubble that you were talking about. And it's like, man, I really grew up. Fisher's great area to grow up.
I was gonna say same
like,
thing.
Safe. Yep. It's everything. But it is such a bubble, and it does not really allow people to experience that real world.
I will tell you that Fishers has, I'll just say specifically to the high school, Hamilton Southeastern. I know, they have done a lot in the last 8 to 10 years. A lot of this has to do with Mike's efforts. I'll be 100% tell people this. Mike has pushed for this in the high school greatly, and a lot of it has to do with the experience that they went through, their family. And they have responded, but I think there is a ton more that can be done.
Oh yeah,
but isn't that amazing that it takes an outside source to open the eyes of a school system that struggles of children and their mental wellness?
So what's interesting is the main point person that was at HSE just moved to Carmel. Because I think Carmel is starting to realize, and I know you and I have talked a lot about this, Clark, with your experience, and you've seen it firsthand, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying any of these schools are bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, to your point, it takes something like this for something to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It took an outside source for me to get my son help within the school system. Otherwise, I would have never had that opportunity if it wasn't for Erik and you opening the doors to that.
Yeah.
My son would still be struggling and not having any help within the school system.
Yeah, God love him. My man Mark's such a great kid, man. He's just awesome. You know what I mean? And that's like, there's so many awesome kids out there today that I think just get consumed by this
expectation of the people around them.
You said Clark, you brought up a great comment. Why are we hurrying to get through life?
Yeah.
Like, why are we rushing it?
I don't know.
I mean, here's the deal. If you go to IU or you go to Purdue or you go to any of these fucking colleges, right? They'll take your money today just like they'll take it in 10 years from now.
Exactly.
I'm trying to slow this shit down.
We definitely are, right?
Yeah. And it is like, even with school, like I think seeing those steps, even though they may have dragged their ass a little bit to get it done, but it's like, I know one of my old Spanish teachers I had at HSC, she started, I think like a year or two ago, she started like a little like mental health club. I forget the actual name of it with HSC and everything. And I remember when she was talking about it and posting on Instagram, like DMing with her and talking with her in length of being like, you don't understand how fucking important this is.
Can't be a shock, man. I mean, when somebody puts like something together and they get a ton of response out of it, it's like, hello.
If you go to the playground and break your arm, the immediate response. Why don't they do that with the wellness of your brain?
It is where it's like, I would have loved in high school if they had something like that, where it was like, hey, once a week after the end of the day, we all meet up and
just hang out. That's what we do. Dude, that's all we like. Listen, Erik and I, and now, with the blessing of LDR and Clark and this network growing organically, like, which it's what I've hoped for. This isn't rocket science, man.
Because there's no refuge in high school right now. I mean, not very many of them. There's not a place to find
It's just community,
solace.
man. And even like when you were on as a guest, Clark, you talked a lot about this, like how important the community. Like we just talked a little bit ago about the Grateful Dead, right?
Yeah.
The music is fun, but it's the community of people, man. If you've listened to any interviews from Jerry or Bob or anybody, Phil, anybody in the band, man, they will tell you that the whole reason that they get energy is from the crowd.
Oh yeah.
and that crowd is the community.
Yeah,
right. And that's probably
stopping strangers.
And that's probably most artists, to be honest with you. Like, they play music, they want to play it to a live audience, right? They want to feel that community energy. And that's all that's all we're doing. But I know it's more than that. I mean, I do know that what we're doing, the resources that we have in place and that we're growing to build every day are helpful, right? I know that.
I think it's community, and I think it's also part of just exposure as well to it, where it's like there is still so much stigma going around of everything, where it's like, I remember last time I was here and talking to you guys, a week or two before my first time here, MLB baseball player, pitcher, was just like, I'm out for this week. And when they're like, why? He was like, I gotta like figure some stuff out. My brain's a little out of whack right now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a big deal in the sports world, because everyone, you get judged. This guy's getting paid millions of dollars and all that shit. And it's like, I applaud that guy for what he did, because
Andrew Luck is a prime example of
Andrew Luck is still to this day like my hero.
Yeah.
And like, I loved him as a player. He was the man. I wish he would have still played, but
isn't it amazing how many people busted his balls though for being concerned about his future?
That's right.
I was working downtown. I mean, like block. I was working a block away from the stadium when that game happened, and I remember the moment at the bar, a huge bar. I mean, it could fit like 2,000 people. Packed.
What bar is
and
that?
I don't even want to give them the and
that's funny.
And massive building. And everyone's in there. They're wearing their Colts stuff. It's a preseason game, but still, it's downtown. It was like a Thursday or Friday night.
Yeah, football season starting. And so there's
I remember people started like showing them their phone and like passing around, and it slowly got quieter and quieter and quieter to the point where it was silent.
Crazy.
Because everyone was there, and everyone got so mad and so fucking shitty. And then it's like hearing his interview that he did, his press conference, and seeing his tears and him saying like, I love this game. I wish I could, but like, I have to take care of myself. And the fact that there was still people that were like, what a fucking asshole. And so it's like, dude, what an asshole you are.
Right.
Like, what? Like, here's a guy trying to like take care of himself, and like, he's still, if I'm not mistaken, he still lives in Indy too.
Yeah, definitely. He's still around.
I think he still has his book club and shit. Like, and he's still doing his thing.
I just think, that courage to do that is unbelievable, man. So hey, listen, if Andrew Luck is listening out there, we'd love to have you as a guest on the building.
Come on the pod.
Come on the bar, man. Hang
program.
out with us, man. Right? But, all right, look, I want to do that. I want to ask a couple of questions, because one, I'm interested. You mentioned this, and this is a little different than where we were at previously. Certainly, we'll touch on all the topics that we've talked about. But you said a little bit ago you're going through a job transition, right?
Mm-hmm. Reinvent yourself.
Yeah, reinventing yourself. You just recognize, I think the way you put it, hey, I just recognize, like, look, I need to do it, so why not? Let's just do it now, and it's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about one, how mentally. I think from your experience that you've been through in your life, that you recognize that, because I think no differently than you recognize something was not right a while back when you were in college. Mm-hmm. This is probably one of those same kind of things, but it seems like you're
very relaxed.
Like you could exactly, you recognized it, and it was like. So talk to us a little bit about that, how your mental like state of mind and how you're going into this, because it seems like I get your vibe, dude, and you're like, I'm sweating this, and
So I always talk to people and tell people, and like I even told. When the day came that I did have this conversation with my bosses, it was hard and it was emotional for me. It was a really, really hard conversation to have. But it was something I was thinking about for about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Is when I started having those feelings. I was like, man, something's not right here. And like with work, you kind of got to let it ride, because work is work. My mom taught me at a really young age, work is called work for a reason.
Yep.
That the whole saying of like, find what you love, and it's kind of bullshit. Like even like work is work.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I've always taken that in stride, because it's like some days you have great days, some days you have bad days at work.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, maybe this is just like a funk I'm going through. Like I'm gonna keep letting it ride, and kept going and it just kept getting fucking worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's funny because I was in the restaurant industry, and a saying in the restaurant industry that's really popular is don't let your outside life affect your inside life. Because in a restaurant, you have to be, hey, Clark, God, it's good to see you. And all, how have you been? And when I'm not in the mood to do that shit and I'm sitting there as the face of this restaurant stomping around, it's not a good energy. It's not a good vibe.
The prickly pear is not
exactly. So
fair.
so you
Kinda
learn
sucks.
you learn that really quick. But what was going on for me was my work life was affecting my outside life.
Yeah.
Where I would have moments where I should be enjoying the moment and I should be in the moment, but because of my responsibilities at work, because of all that stuff, it was seeping in and I couldn't enjoy like life anymore. Like things that used to get me really excited and make me really happy and really a lot of enjoyment, I was not enjoying because I was so focused and so much shit was going on in my head, or I was getting blown up on my phone or emails or whatever. And so then I had started having the conversation with my fiance and my family about maybe creating some sort of exit plan. Timing. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Do I do it now? Do I wait? Do I save up some money? And I was like, all right, let me get through the summer.
Yep.
Save up some money, and then kind of go into the fall season, I'll get out of there. And I did that for about a month or two. And it just kept getting worse. It kept getting worse and worse and worse. And there was never a single incident with my old job that made me want to quit. Yeah. It was not a single person I worked with that I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
I miss them dearly and everything. But I had to take that step and do that, which was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do in a really, really long time. And make that decision for myself, because I'm getting married in November. I'm probably going to pop out a kid here in like 2 or 3 years.
You are?
And
if that happens, Connor, call me, because I want to be there.
Not me. No, it's 2023, but so and
that's great.
I just know that right now I'm currently unemployed. I have zero fucking income. I am just kind of taking it easy. I am doing some stuff to progress me into getting into another field of work and everything like that. Yeah. But nothing's set in stone. I'm a big believer of like jinxing shit, so I don't even want to talk about it.
I got you, man. Yeah.
So
enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
Right.
And so that's what I'm doing. And it's been I was really, really nervous to quit because I hate letting people down. And I knew I was about to let a lot of people down. Also, you don't have, like I said, I don't have an income right now. The money that's in my bank account is the money. There's no more.
It's not coming in every week. I got you.
So it's stressful and it's anxious, but I think what I did that helped out was
Is it exciting a little bit though? Because it's a new beginning really for you.
It's super exciting, and I think what I did is I legitimately thought about it. I didn't do the like pros and cons list or anything like that.
I got you.
But
again,
it was like,
that's an expectation that I think you got. Oh, well, you got to sit down and write your pros and cons. And Connor, where are you going to be in 3 to 5 years?
Exactly. And like I made the decision knowing that I know damn well the next 2 or 3 years aren't going to be the best for me financially.
You don't know that though, man.
I don't.
Connor, you don't know what tomorrow brings. You know what I mean?
Maybe I go buy a scratcher and like hit it tonight.
Maybe you run into somebody that says, "Hey, man, I want to offer you this job tomorrow." You just
you just
don't know.
And very good point. But it's like, if I'm gonna struggle,
scratcher, I like that.
if I'm gonna struggle, or if I'm gonna have my ups and downs, I want to do it now while I'm still pretty young, while life is still exciting and all this stuff. So when I do hit that age where, I have a kid or two, my parents are getting older, more kind of life is happening than what it is now. Yeah. I'm set and I'm comfortable, because that shit's going to be way harder than any fucking job. I don't have a kid, and I know that having that kid's going to be really, really hard.
It's a life changer, man.
It's
a life changer.
And so I would think that, and again, I brought it up to you guys before we started. Man, 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be losing my mind right now. Yeah. I would be so fucking anxious. I'd be dry heaving all over the place. I'd be like,
if you wrote down, remember what you said about it in that group. If you wrote down what you've accomplished in the last, X amount of years, or if you want to look at it months or whatever, right, dude?
Yeah.
I believe just, hearing you is why you have this mindset of, you know what? I'm going to do it. I just want to do it now, and I want to do it on my own terms.
It feels like you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Oh, I am. And like, I think what's so great about it is, and it's funny, a lot of my confidence comes from my work. I'm not a very confident person. I'll admit it, whatever. A lot of it comes from work. It's that satisfaction. It's why I like the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
You'd get your fucking ass kicked.
It's a team, man, dude. That's a team.
Hours,
that's a team.
And at the end of the night, you guys would all look at each other and be like, hey, we did that shit.
Yep.
We made good money.
Yep.
See you again tomorrow.
Yeah,
like,
man. High five, hug it out.
There's no better feeling than that.
There's almost like a withdrawal. Like
Truly. So what I was really worried about was when I quit was that, okay, hey, I can repaint this. I can do this with my yard. I can rearrange this room in this way. I can do that. But once I run out of projects to do, your brain is gonna just shoot down because you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's been about 3.5, 4 weeks now, and I've kind of hit a little point of like, I got shit to do.
Yeah.
And I am still fine, and I think a lot of it has to do with the things I've been through in the past and knowing that there's that light at the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because I remember last time I was on, a big thing that I've thought about in my life is like most of my like things I'm most proud of in my life or I enjoy most come from like the worst fucking points in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
My fiance was at a god awful job that I hated, and I found love, and I found the girl I'm gonna be with the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
I was suicidal and was living with my parents, and my dad just broke his neck, but god damn it, it got me and my dad closer than ever before. COVID was awful. COVID was terrible.
Yeah.
But COVID was also the thing that pushed me and my now fiance into like getting together. Like, so even though right now nothing too terrible is happening or nothing too bad, I truly, truly believe that the decision I made and what I'm doing now, 4 or 5 years down the line, whatever it is I'm doing, I will be so thankful I did what I did now.
So Connor, when you zoom out of things, man, right? So, somebody's helped me do this a little bit. When you zoom out and you look at these things, just as you just mentioned, all the various things that you've been through and what's landed you right here at this table today.
It's hard to zoom out when you're in the thick of it, you know?
It's the old adage, you can't see the forest through the trees, right? So when you're able to sometimes, and I think that you are, through your experiences, through your courage, through your recognizing things that are going on with yourself, is fantastic. And I got another question for you here in a minute, but when you can zoom out of all this, I think that's one of the big reasons that's giving you this confidence and this, quite honestly, this positive energy that you have relative to where you're going, right?
Yeah.
And wherever the hell that might be tomorrow, right? I mean, I think that's the other part of expectation is somebody feels like, you got to be on this true north, right? This is where you got to go.
Well, we're all going to go hang out at Dead and Company.
Right?
Yeah,
That's going to be fantastic. Yeah, I'm
That's
down
coming
with,
up in the future.
down with that for sure. But it's important, I think, for listeners to understand, especially with what we're striving for here. Our mission at building a refuge is like, just fucking relax, man. Just relax a little bit, okay? Just take a step back and just and now I understand there's some people that might be way harder to do, and I'm not saying like, oh, you can just snap your finger and it's gonna happen, right? But I think hanging around a community, hanging around dudes that get it, hanging around younger guys like yourself that get it, is hugely helpful. Hugely helpful, man. So, I mean, I just think it's awesome that you have this mindset right now and where you're going and kind of the future. I mean, you got a lot of exciting things coming, man. You're getting married, dude. Like, that's
So I have a baby, too, man.
yeah. Like, well, you're going to have a baby, which is fucking
I'm
crazy.
having the baby.
I can't wait to see you. Can't wait to see your pregnant body.
That is
already
amazing. We're
essentially am a
dude,
little
we
bit,
are going to make really good TV with that shit, I can tell you.
Oh, we'll be huge. But no, it is. I agree with that, and thank you for all that.
Yeah, for
it
sure.
is. It's something that like I just think that because it's funny if you were to ask any of my really good friends or anyone who knows me, they would never describe me as a very positive person.
Yeah.
Because I realistically I'm just not.
I feel like you're real.
But I am,
You know
and
what I mean?
I always tell people this. Big picture, I'm someone that's very optimistic and very positive. But on your day-to-day bullshit that you go through, it kind of sucks sometimes. And like, but you have to. You have to have that. You have to let yourself, and especially like you said, like within a group and talking with people and telling people to relax, you have to let yourself enjoy some things sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if it's, obviously
The sucky moments,
obviously,
right?
yeah.
The shitty moments.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can somehow, look back and laugh at them, or at least,
even on a small scale thing, where it's like, let's say you're dieting and everything like that, and you've been doing really good for like 2 months, you've been working out, and you're at a grocery store and like you see a thing of ice cream, dude,
fucking eat it.
Fuck it, dude.
Hell
Like you enjoy
Eat that shit
it.
up.
Like,
somebody ate an ice cream bar earlier today.
yeah, like you enjoy that shit. Like
Yeah.
life,
I got some for everybody.
like life isn't always this thing that's like, you always want to be trying to become a better person. You always want to try to be taking care of yourself better. But we only have a finite time here.
Yeah.
And it's like, make sure to sprinkle in some enjoyment here and
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I always feel really bad. Like, I have a few friends that are like super duper into fitness.
Yeah.
And I mean, their bodies are phenomenal. Their women are all over them and all this
I'm
stuff and
kinda that way.
everything. I think we all three are. And
I like chili dogs.
yeah, but
They are good.
Yeah.
when I talk to those people and it's like, I talk to my friends and we're talking about, what they're eating and all
Yeah.
this stuff and everything. And I'm like, dude, you can't be enjoying that. I'm like, oh, it's awful. And I'm like, then why are you like, look at yourself. Like you are
awful.
Like I would kill to have a body like yours. Dude, go fucking eat McDonald's like once. It's not gonna kill you, dude. Like it's not gonna
Or some
like
chili cheese fries.
Yeah,
like,
it's not gonna send you back.
Clark's like, oh, those are great.
Yeah, it's not going to send you back to like the heavyweights camp or anything like that, dude.
No.
Like it's just like sprinkle in a little bit of enjoyment here and there, and like that was something that for me was an actual kind of hard lesson to learn for a while because I was always so down on myself and I was always so negative that I always felt more or less that I needed to almost be punished in a way than it was to go do something that I truly enjoy. And then not only that, but finding that joy. Like it was when I was downtown, I remember I was in a really, really bad episode doing all that. My friend was like, hey man, like, why don't you come on a bike ride with me? I was like, a fucking bike ride? Like what? And he's like, dude, come on. Like,
Can
it's
we drink on this bike?
Yeah, like he's like, dude, come on. It's fun. It's all this stuff. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Got my bike out. We went on a bike ride around the city. And I, for like 5 or 6 years living downtown, I took a bike ride every single day because I was like, this is great. It's exercise. I'm outdoors. I'm getting to see the city and run into people I know and shit like that. And it's like pushing your boundaries, letting yourself find enjoyment and doing that stuff is just to me as important as working out, eating right, doing stuff like that, because it's like you got to have that balance. If you're so strict on yourself every single day,
don't be so hard on yourself, right?
You're not going to help, because like I said earlier, my biggest advice to people, always, don't get mad about your feelings. If you're upset about something and then you get mad that you're upset, you're fucked. Like you are not going to help yourself at all.
So let me ask you this. If somebody were to ask you and maybe I'm just asking you this, right? But for those our listeners out there, because I know people will listen to this, which I'm grateful for all of our listeners. If you had to just in a couple of words, say what building a refuge has meant to you so far now that you're on your second podcast.
Why you keep talking about that?
But I mean, just in terms of like, a couple of words to say, if somebody said, hey man, I heard about this building a refuge group, man, like what do you think?
I think for me personally, and I still got to make it out to a meeting, which now that I am.
Come on out, man. We have them. So it's a good plug we do them monthly over to Harley Davidson of Indianapolis. We always have food. We always hang out, have a good time. And
now that my schedule's a bit more open, I'm sure I can.
Saturdays, right? Yeah.
We hang out here a lot too.
We do hang out here a lot too,
And I can join those now, but I think a lot of it for me has almost been a really weird sense, like purpose, like a sense of pride and a sense of like, because for me, the way me and Clark knew each other from where I used to work and everything, and then the reason I found out about this podcast was because I was talking to another regular who's gone through some stuff, and he opened up about his past and I opened about mine, and we had that moment of like, I would have never guessed that about you.
Yeah.
And he was like, Clark, and he told me about everything and all that. And I was like, my very first thought immediately, and literally the next time I saw Clark, I was like, dude, I'm coming on that podcast. It's something for me that
just gave me chills.
It is.
It's good, dude. It goes back to what you were saying about this place, right?
It's something for me that I've always wanted to do something to spread awareness make a change, make an impact, no matter how little or how big, on the topic of men's mental health and mental and all that stuff. And because it is truly such an odd, and we live in such a weird fucking time where half the people think guys aren't guys anymore, and the other half people think if a guy is too guyly, then they're like an asshole. Like, we just live in this fucking weird ass time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, our brains and our own mental health and whatever is so much more important than anything else going on.
Yeah.
And to be able to spread light, and like you said, even if like 100 years from now, one dude listens to this, and one dude hears my story or another story, and it makes them think a little bit differently about their own situation, their own life. That's all I can ask for.
Well, listen, man, I mean, that's the goal here. I mean, that's what we try to do at Building a Refuge, through one story at a time. I mean, that's what we do. And I just can't thank you enough for being open to coming back, hanging out with us at LDR Studios.
Absolutely.
And telling your story and sharing with us. I mean, I think, the vulnerability side of this thing is huge. I mean, you're one of our younger guests, Connor, and it's I've talked to my son. I know we've asked a lot, but I mean, we'll gain more and more. And like I said, if you have people that I know you run in a social community, man, so push it out and be like, hey, look, man, it's a great environment to share story and share,
absolutely,
something that somebody's going through. But we appreciate you,
especially people my age. I mean, I grew up in that Twitter world, that Facebook world. Being cool is really fucking important to people, like to that. And talking about your struggles and talking about your issues isn't cool, but it's like, and to me, in a way, dude, it's kind of cool as fuck. Like, it's like
what happens is, and I've noticed this even, in this journey is vulnerability and honesty is courageous, and courage is contagious. So what happens is you get in an environment, just like no different than you said in your group that you're in. You're like, man, when I first got in, and I was like, dude, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? But then by the end of it, you had an appreciation and a respect for that person, because you're like, okay.
Oh yeah.
They opened up about something. And again, that's kind of the goal here. We don't force it.
Yeah.
We don't we'll never force it. Our meetings are not that. Our meetings are a place just to come and gain a community of friends.
Yeah.
It's how I met Clark. It's how I've met Dustin. It's how I've met, Doug. It's how I've met Mike. It's how I've met so many people organically through this. And that's just because we don't set any expectation and we don't set any pressure to it.
Yeah.
We just want guys to come out, hang out, know that they're a part of a community. And if somebody does need something, we have a wealth of resources that we can extend out, and that can vary from everything from like your experience with community the stress center, or just subgroups that are out there.
Sometimes people just need to share their story.
That's exactly right.
Feel comfortable with, and
and
I think that's what we bring, is a environment that is super chill vibe.
Hell yeah!
You walk in here, and even at the meetings, it's there's no intimidating factor about it,
no doubt.
I know for me, I mean, I've shared my story with a bunch of people, and I've talked to different groups, and I've had different situations in my life where tragedies happen, and I have to be the one kind of there to shed light a little bit on some stuff. And like, getting my story out has always to me been really important, because for me, I feel like I have a very relatable story, because I almost had a picture perfect childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents are still together. They're wealthy. Grew up in a nice town.
Yeah.
But shit still happens. And shit still happens all the time. And like, letting people know that is okay. And like, kind of along to what you were saying, like, when I come on here, the questions you ask, everything here, nothing about this feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Nothing about this feels like it's a situation that it's like I have to perform. I have to be super open, or should I say this or should I not say this?
If we were playing fucking Tea Party here, dude, I don't know anybody that would be into this.
And it's great. And like, not only that, but it's like, I'll give you guys a massive shout out. Like, just this whole place, LDR in itself, is like, this is just one small room we're in. I mean, there is a bunch of cool shit out there. And like, the video, the first time I came, I took a little video of the place and sent it to a few of my buddies that are like into music, and they're like, dude, where the fuck is that? And I was like, dude,
Noblesville, Indiana.
I was like,
cheers to that, right, buddy? Noblesville, Indiana.
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, dude, let me know. Like, I gladly hook you up and do whatever, because the space
I love that, dude.
the space is awesome. I think what you guys are doing is really awesome, and it's something that I'm glad to kind of slowly becoming more and more of a part of.
Well,
because
you're a part of the band now, so
I got
you got to rep this shirt, baby. You got to rep this thing, man. You know,
and it's been great, and I think even talking about. Yesterday I was with some people and like, oh no, tomorrow I'm doing this podcast. Like, oh, what are you doing? Explain it to me.
Yeah, right on.
And their instant reactions like, man, that's awesome. Like that is such a cool and it's like, yeah, and that's why. And like people who know me personally know that that's a very, very important topic in my life. Yep. And it's great, man. You guys are doing an awesome job here. I'm very, very glad you guys, I don't want to say brought me back, but
but
like,
he did.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm
very glad to come back here and do this again and like be able to experience all this. It has been really awesome. I'm really looking forward to being able to come to a meeting with you guys and everything and kind of meet some more folks and just see where this guy goes.
Well, we're grateful for you, man. We appreciate you coming on, man. And as you said, we have monthly meetings at Harley-Davidson of Indianapolis. And this extended family here at LDR Studios is awesome because we can come and hang out here. So anybody that's listening that wants to come in and watch a podcast and hang out with us, you're more than welcome. But as we do at the beginning of this, if you're struggling, we have a couple of resources for you. You can text the word 4949, refuge, to 494949, and you can also use the National Suicide Hotline at 988. That's a great resource as well, and we have a lot of great resources here in Indianapolis. I'd be remiss if I don't mention it. I think we were asked this one time how we do what we do, and we do it through the donations of everybody out there. So folks that have donated to us, we're very, very grateful to you all. We host a couple of fundraising events every year. One is at Harley-Davidson. One will be at the VFW over in Carmel, Indiana. And then we do our No Shave November kickoff in November as well. But
get started.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you, Clark. I usually need 12 months to grow a beard, but yeah, no, we appreciate everybody's donations. It's how we do this. It's organically grown. And Connor, we just thank you for coming in, man, and sharing your story, buddy.
Me.
Yeah, awesome.
Truly, thank you guys.
Right on. Thanks a lot.
To hold on to. It is well within my soul. Jesus built me a refuge, someplace I can run to, a place we now call home.